So, in today's segment of Twinleaf Journal, let's discuss Mega Lucario, Ash's Mega Lucario, and how it was handled in the anime and what I think about that. But what is sparking this discussion this time around? What's sparking this discussion is a tweet I came across just looking up Ash's Mega Evolved Pokemon, one, for this podcast, but two, I was interested to see what people were saying about Mega Lucario, and I came across this tweet from the LeafBlader497, who had said, so many of you wanted Ash to have a Lucario for years. That's a valid statement, we did. And by extension, it's Mega Evolution. Of course we wanted him to have that. But he asked, now that it's finally happened, are you satisfied with how it was handled? That is the main central question. Then I want to showcase a tweet from PokeFurlax, who says, in quotations, Ash's Lucario versus Cynthia's Garchomp had an excellent / well-written narrative. He goes on to say, the well-written narrative in question, they're both from Sinnoh, they're both hatched from eggs, just like in every Pokemon in the world, just like every Pokemon in the world is hatched from an egg. They never even met before, didn't even both Mega Evolve, only one Mega Evolved. So, with that being said, what is my opinion on Mega Lucario? Was it handled properly? Was it mishandled, mistreated? Was it underdeveloped, overdeveloped, overfocused on, not given enough attention? We all know the answers to these questions, and it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things that we're gonna get into. Damn, that's a good smoothie. So the thing is, when we talk about Ash's Mega Lucario, 1, did he deserve it? 2, how was it written? 3, what did it do for the story and the narrative of Pokemon Journeys? And 4, what is the overall reception? Well, we are introduced to Riolu when it was an egg, and Ash had a strong aura and aura connection to the egg, and that's totally fine. I think the way that Riolu was introduced was a great way to get us warmed up to the idea that Ash was going to get a Lucario, that Ash was eventually going to get Mega Lucario. So I think it started off really well, but here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that is Pokemon Journeys in a nutshell. It started off fine and had promise and had potential, but the series itself did not deliver on that. And what do I mean by that? Well, firstly, when Riolu is introduced, he immediately takes all the spotlight from the rest of Ash's Pokemon. I'm talking about so much forced focus that you forget Gengar's there, you forget Dragonite's there, and it also led to the ridiculously stupid filler episode where Pikachu gets jealous of Ash and Riolu because Ash is super training Riolu. You know, only using Farfetch'd for training with Riolu instead of, bonding with Farfetch'd more, And not to say that sparring with his Pokemon is bad, because it's not by any means. He does that in every series. It's just that there was so much extra focus on Ash's Riolu that it outshined the rest of the team, that you forget his other team members are there. It basically became the Ash and Riolu show. And Pikachu, okay, fine, maybe your jealousy can be justified, whatever, but it's just so stupid because for 25 plus years, Pikachu has been with Ash. Why would it get jealous of a brand new Riolu? And okay, maybe you can make the argument, oh, this is how, older siblings feel when they get a new baby brother or a new baby sister, and all of a sudden the parents are taking care of that child more, and then that sibling gets a little jealous. You can make that argument, but again, Pikachu, its relationship with Ash should not be questioned. We should not have had that stupid filler episode of Pikachu running away, Mr. Mime going after Pikachu, Delia needing to sing Pikachu to sleep, and, having to rectify the relationship. That should not have happened. That was a weak story point and a weak plot point that I think kind of hurt the overall flow of writing the story for Ash and Lucario. And again, Riolu had a lot of promise, but I feel as though once it evolved into Lucario, the well-written development and the well-written execution that I think Riolu did have in Season 1 of Pokemon Journeys kind of just goes out the window. And I feel that they forgot how to write a good Pokemon because, oh, now it's fully evolved, we got to the Lucario, I feel like they thought to themselves that they're not gonna care what we do with Lucario on screen, and that's not the case. Just because a Pokemon reaches its final evolved form and its final state does not mean we no longer care about the development of this Pokemon. Riolu evolved into Lucario at the end of Season 1 of Pokemon Journeys. We still have 2 seasons left with this Pokemon at minimum, because Pokemon was on a 3-year time cycle, at least for the anime and for its games. And we do care about Lucario. Just because it's fully evolved does not mean you get to neglect its training, its character arc, its growth, its development, its passion, and its outcomes, and its plot progression. You don't get to ignore those things just because now it's fully evolved and you've done all the build-up from when it was a Lucario, from when it was a Riolu, excuse me. You don't do that. That's just bad writing. That's lazy writing. So for the first time as a Pokemon fan, I would defend people if they said that the anime staff writers were being a bit lazy with the writing. Because it does feel like laziness from the part of the anime writers, but it's also just poor writing. You know, maybe they weren't being lazy, maybe they just suffered from poor writing. Again, there are back-end issues. There are back-end issues that were plaguing Pokemon Journeys, you know, from the time of the pandemic and throughout in almost the entirety of the show. And, you know, even before the pandemic, they were just writing very, very poorly. And the reason for this is because they ended up using Lucario as a marketing tool. They stopped viewing Lucario as a Pokemon, as a character, as a figure in the story, and viewed it as a marketing tool to push Mega Evolution, to push buying the plushies, buying the cards, using Lucario in the games. They used it as a marketing tool. And honestly, you can see this in a lot of different situations with Pokemon Journeys where marketing was more important than the story and the content they were pushing out. And that's what really harmed Pokemon Journeys, in my opinion, is that they stopped caring. I feel they stopped caring. Yes, they stuck the landing when they needed to. They delivered when they needed to, but only when they needed to. You know, it wasn't consistent. It wasn't like watching X and Y or Diamond and Pearl where things felt consistent. You know, writing felt consistent, battles felt consistent, character growth felt consistent. Nothing was, you know, thrown to the wayside. And by that I mean, you know, there wasn't really anything that they just flat out didn't care about. You know, if something kind of got forgotten about in favor of progressing something else even further and elevating a different aspect, that's different. Pokemon Journeys had so many things that just fell off to the wayside and for no good reason. You can see in a lot of Pokemon Journeys where things just drastically take a turn. Lucario is one of them, because Riolu gets great development as a Riolu. It gets great development going up against Grappalot, going up against all these opponents, learning how to hone its aura, learning how to hone its battle skills. And then the evolution into Lucario is great. I think it is well deserved given all the training it had, given the moment that it evolved. It is a very good moment of evolution. But then you get to Season 2. You get to Season 2 of Pokemon Journeys, and things kind of fall off. Lucario is really just there for battling. It loses all the charm and kind of personality it had as a Riolu. It's really just there for battling and progressing Ash through the PWC. It's a battle tool. It's literally just there to clutch wins. And that does not make a good ace, that does not make a good Pokemon, and that does not make a good story. And that's the big issue with Lucario, and I feel like a lot of people would agree with that. But let's focus on, as today's podcast episode suggests, let's focus on Mega Lucario and its Mega Evolution form. That wasn't earned. That wasn't earned at all. If you compare how Ash got Mega Evolution versus how Karina got Mega Evolution back in X and Y, Karina had to go through a whole 5-episode arc to control Aura and control Mega Evolution with her own Lucario. Ash does this in 1 or 2 episodes. And all he has to do is go through this weird gauntlet of fighting like other Pokemon that can Mega Evolve or fighting other Mega Evolved Pokemon. He goes through this trial on Mega Evolution Island, and then he battles Gherkin, but does he really? Like, I remember watching that episode, and while the outcome was great, the outcome was excellent, did it feel earned? No. And my friend Zach would agree with this. And it's just rushed writing. It's prioritizing the outcome over the path that you took to get there. You know, it's kind of like saying the ends justify the means, but in this case they don't. We love the ending that we got. Okay, great, Ash can now Mega Evolve. Cool. But what did you do to get there? You sacrificed character development to get there. You sacrificed plausible and great character growth to get there. You sacrificed a good story to get there. And that's my issue with, you know, Mega Evolution, because now they're just pushing Lucario further and forcing it, because now Lucario, with this power of Mega Evolution, now all the battles kind of ride on Mega Lucario, or even base form Lucario. In my smoothie, I'd recommend you guys buy Bull House Farm smoothie. It's really good, really good. Oh, that hits the spot. But let's continue with Mega Lucario. My main issue with it is that now that Lucario can Mega Evolve, what they did was they prioritized spectacle over narrative. Spectacle over narrative. And that can also be a title that sums up Pokemon Journeys. And why do I feel that way? Because it's true. You see it with so many battles. You see it especially with Round 3 of Ash vs. B in Stowan side. You see that on full display, because we get down to Gigantamax Machamp versus Mega Lucario. And for some reason, Mega Lucario, without using any sort of move to defend itself, without Ash telling it to activate its powers of Aura, it just stands there and tanks full force G-Max Machamp's G-Max Cheese Strike. Why? Why is it able to do that? It literally just tanks the attack, jumps back up like it did no damage, and it's because they need Ash to win. They need Ash to win. They want Ash to win. Ash has to get to the finals of the PWC. But that's not how you do it. That's not how you progress the story further. If anything, Ash should have lost the battle. If anything, Lucario should have taken immense damage. If anything, maybe it should have been a tie. And it's just that they rushed the battles. They want Ash to win. They want to glorify Ash, but they don't want to put in the work for him to earn it. They don't want to put in the work for this to feel deserved and to feel earned. And that's the problem with Pokemon Journeys and with Mega Lucario. You know, again, they want us to feel like we have all this history with Lucario, that it can tank these hits, that it can be this overpowered beast of a Pokemon. But what are the prerequisites? What are the prerequisites? Because it has Aura? Because it has Mega Evolution? It's baseline. It's baseline. You know, we saw that with Karina, once she even got Mega Evolution, she had to learn how to control it. Ash never really had to do that. And because of this, it makes Mega Lucario look like a weak Mega. And I know that's kind of oxymoronic, and I know that's kind of backwards, but Mega Lucario looks like a weak Mega because it's surrounded by plot armor. And yes, it does undergo training with Ash's Greninja to get stronger, hone its aura, unlock the ability to use the giant aura sphere. But without that training, would Mega Lucario be as strong as it is? Would Mega Lucario be able to accomplish the feats that it did? And part of me thinks no, because Ash never went under. It never partook in that, you know, rigorous training to control and master Mega Evolution. It was just, here's your Mega Glove, here's your Mega Stone and your Keystone. You can Mega Evolve now, so have at it. Go ahead and win all your battles. Go ahead and win the PWC. And don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy the bond between Ash and Lucario. I really do enjoy the depth that we got with Ash and Riolu, but honestly, I think that's where it peaked. Yes, they display that they still have a strong bond, that they're still working hard to train, get stronger, be the best that they can be. But when you are basically being serviced to the plot, or the plot is being serviced to you, catering to you so that you can win the battles that you need to win, it does not make a good Pokemon story. It does not give this Pokemon the development that it needs. And Again, I think Mega Lucario is a great ace. I think it's a great Pokemon. It's just very underwhelming. It does not live up to its full potential. It does not live up to the story that it could have had. There's just so much more they could have done. And Mega Lucario is just a prime example of how Pokemon Journeys squandered its potential. How Pokemon Journeys wasted the potential that it had. And unfortunately, the story of Ash and Lucario suffered for that. I think it's great. I think Mega Lucario gave us some of the best battles in the Pokemon anime, some of the best in Journeys when it was involved. It's just that, beyond that, it's just spectacle. Mega Lucario is there for the ooh and ah effect that we get when it's on screen. It's there just so Ash can have a Mega. And Lucario is the one that lacks the substance. Riolu does not. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Because people are going to say that, oh, he's hating on Lucario, well, he's hating on Riolu too, the whole thing, the whole story. No. Let me distinguish. I need to catch this. Riolu is the one that had the development, had the substance, had the depth, had the bond, had the training, had the progress, the good progress. Riolu is the one that earned all that. Lucario is the one that was, over-favored. It was the one that was catered to, the one that was pampered, the one that was just handed things. Don't get it twisted. Riolu and Lucario essentially feel like they may not be the same Pokemon because of how they were treated so differently. And you can look at the story. You can look up every single episode of Pokemon Journeys. I'm not making this up. Yes, it's my opinion. But you can look at how these episodes are written and structured. And if you don't agree, that's fine. I invite you to disagree with me in the comments. I invite you to voice your opinion. I would love to hear what you have to say about Lucario. But it kind of feels like there is a disconnect between the Riolu stage and the Lucario stage. One put in the work, put in the effort, and one just sat there and waited for things to be handed to him. And all in all, that is the greatest problem with Ash and Mega Lucario.